Good afternoon, viewers. Thank you very much. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television, a Pan-African station that broadcasts all the way from Nairobi, Kenya, and in the general headquarters in London. Good afternoon in Nairobi, Kenya. Good afternoon all over the continent of Africa, from Cairo to Cape Town, from Abuja, Accra, Abidjan, Kinshasa, Asmara, Addis Ababa, Nairobi, Dar es Salaam, Lilongwe, Blantyre, Maputo. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Harare. Good afternoon, Lusaka, Zambia, Johannesburg, Pretoria. Good afternoon, Rwanda. Good afternoon all over the whole world. Those watching us, especially in Tripoli. The plight of the people of Libya has not been discussed. Muammar Gaddafi lost his life. He had already put up an Africa that we can see as an example. What happened to our Africa? Good afternoon. Those in North Africa, Tunisia, Morocco. Good afternoon in Bamako. Good afternoon in Bamako. Good afternoon all over the whole country as it is, the whole continent of Africa. In Bamako, in Abidjan, in Lagos. Good afternoon. Viewers, I'm taking this time to recite all the capital cities from my head so that African people can learn and go for interviews and pass. There are some people in Africa who go for interviews when they don't know even their own capital. You don't know your own capital city, then what type of life did you go to school for? Good afternoon, Kampala, Uganda. Good afternoon, Kigali. Good afternoon, Khartoum, Juba. Good afternoon, Bangui, Central African Republic. Good afternoon, Kinshasa, the capital city of DRC, Congo. Rebels killing people, rebels maiming people. This is the Africa we want to talk about today, this afternoon. Very good, well placed, with panelists across the continent will be coming in to discuss, to deliver a stronger message. What did we get? What do we get? Is it our own problem as Africans? Good afternoon, those in Jamena, Chad. Good afternoon, those in Algiers, Algeria. Good afternoon, those in a very good capital city. Good afternoon in Nairobi, Kenya. Mr. Daniel Wesonga, standing in for many other people, for Miriam, who is not here on other assignments. Good afternoon, Daniel Wesonga in Nairobi. How is Kenya?
Very good afternoon to you, Dr. Matsanga. David, I'm very, very happy to see you coming to us live from London, Kenya. Nairobi, Kenya is quite calm. The mornings, the afternoon is really, really vibrant. The sun is up. And it is really, really my pleasure to be on the conversation this particular afternoon, sitting in for my colleague, Miriam Ogutu.
Good afternoon, Javani Karanja from Nanyuki. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. David Matsanga, Wesonga, and Tawish. It's a pleasure being back on Punchline Africa Television after quite a break. And I'm happy to see you guys looking well and fantastic and smart.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Let's make it. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for Africa, for the sake of Africa. We shall move on. We are not going to be dragged into petty issues of countries that don't want our advice. We shall move on and speak with one voice. We want a united Africa. We want an Africa without wars. We want an Africa without conflicts. To spend my last time on this continent, on this earth, talking for the sake of Africa, let's live a united Africa. An Africa without wars, an Africa without hunger, an Africa without drought, an Africa that takes rain seriously when it rains? Are we a problem of our own? An Africa that does not beg, an Africa that does not engage in useless topics, but an Africa that discusses issues. Good afternoon, Tawish Samuel or Susanna from Narok. Good afternoon.
A very good afternoon to you, Dr. David Masanga from London Command Headquarters. Good afternoon to my good brother, Sean Wesonga, who is at our Patchland Africa TV headquarters, and also Javan Karanja, all the way from Nanyuki, and all our viewers who are watching this program in Kenya, Africa, and the rest of the world. Indeed, Dr. Masanga, it's my pleasure to join you on this program this afternoon, and I'm well equipped to deal with the discussion this afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Masanga.
Thank you very much, Tawish from Narok. You can see the type of strength I have this afternoon. All the way from this general headquarters, I am going to dissect Africa. But first of all, let's look at, I'm speaking with a new vision. Today, I was reading the book of Samuel. I looked at the book of Samuel. The whole of it says, a new generation, help me, God, I listen to you. How many people in Africa listen? Year in, year out, we are begging. Year in, year out, we are asking for food, relief. Why are we not proactive? Why? An African leader listening to my speech, I'm your age. You are not going to do anything to me. I'm your age. Age has wisdom, and I'm not going to keep quiet. We have to talk about issues that are going to disrupt this continent. We can't wear suits and run around the whole world when we don't have what it means. Why don't we prepare ourselves? Why are we not prepared, you people? Why do we beg food every year, everywhere? Why do we have problems of landslides on Mount Elgon every year, killing people in the place where I was born some over 6 decades ago? My people of Mount Elgon, when I grew up, there was only one landslide that I saw. Today, every year, my people of Mount Elgon in Uganda must run very fast when it starts raining. What have we done to this world? But before I go deeper, because today it looks like Tawish can see I'm in a not normal situation. I'm ready to bust any African who tells lies to people. Because there is a new infusion of knowledge that I have got to tell some people. Enough is enough. Time has come. You talk about peace talks. You are going to collect rebels who have people who, the people who funded the rebels, collect them first. Don't waste the taxpayers' money. Collect these rebels, the people who funded them, ask them, call them, and tell them, stop funding. That they were, look, what type of life are we going through? Africa. We are wasting the little money resources instead of putting a borehole. Hello? Instead of putting a borehole. Hello? Instead of putting a solar panel system. Hello? We are wasting that. We are doing rebels in Congo. Look at this. These rebels in Congo have the owner. And time has come out for us. Because if you die once. But let's name the owners of these rebels. Who are the owners? You can't have a cotton factory when you don't grow cotton. Hello? Good afternoon, Daniel Wesonga. Bring us update with news headlines only coming from Kenya the newspaper headlines, and then also go further. You can read the British, but I'll do the British newspapers from this side, the headlines mainly. The economy. A few weeks ago, before you go, I was telling the world that there's an economic meltdown. Some Africans were laughing at me. Didn't I do that topic here at Tawish? That is going to be an economic meltdown. I did.
You did that. You did.
Where are we now? It's coming. And we are now panicking, running around, wasting people's time and ears and pollution. Why are we never prepared? We are not never proactive. Africa is reactive. Corona-19 comes. No African country has got one incubator or ICU which is ready. Even leave that, because that has got equipment. Can I amuse you? Masks. I was shocked when I heard that Africa, one African country, was some countries were saying we have run out of masks. Surely, take it from there, Wesonga.
Thank you so much, Dr. Matsanga David. And I'll go right away to the Kenyan newspaper headlines and later on to the global newspapers that we have today. And on Kenya, I start with the Star newspaper. And the headline there is the big conflict over plot to alter IBC recruiting panel. So that is what the Star is reporting today. And on the Standard newspaper, it's all about the Hustlers Fund. And the Standard newspaper say the rules, the kind of terms and the conditions that those will be eyeing the Hustlers Fund are all listed in this newspaper today. And it says all set for the 50 billion Hustlers Fund. When we move forward to the Sunday Nation, the headline is Ruto's new plot to lure Raila's MP. All that has to do with the Kenya's internal politics. And that is all in regards to Kenya's newspaper. I'll try and go to the other African news. And this is the Daily News, and it says a notable boost for political dialogue. I believe this is from Zimbabwe. We go to another one, is the Vision newspaper from Uganda, and it says the headlines today is Unclaimed Asians Asset Up for Sale. That is the new Vision in Uganda. The Mirror says, I'll skip the Mirror a bit and move to the Sunday News of Tanzania, and says the task forces to spur growth, and that is about the new economic incentive set up by the government of President Suluhu Samia Hassan to be able to turn around the economy in Tanzania. And lastly, I got to other newspaper, and that is the Newsday Weekend, and that is in Uganda, and it says court security forces belong to ZANU-PF. That is something that has been said by one of the leaders in Zimbabwe. For more information or for more news, I have to get the newspaper and be able to go through it. And lastly, we go to South Africa before we move to Nigeria. And South Africa, the Sunday World says Ramaphosa warned about Masemola. So that is in matter security in South Africa. And we move swiftly to Nigeria, the nation, where it says that the Naira sustains rally as dollar rush subsides. So that is in regards to the stabilizing of the Naira against the US dollar. And Dr. Matsanga has been talking about the economic meltdown. I believe it has something to do with that. And we move swiftly to the Punch in Nigeria, and it says ICPC freezes 1.233 bank accounts, 1,233 rather, bank accounts. It says ex-governor may lose 29 duplexes. So that is in regards to Nigeria. And of course, I go back to the UK newspapers where Dr. Matsanga will be able to take us through the newspaper. So we start with the Independent, and the headline there is, I'll call out Russia at G20 summit. That is Rishi Sunak, the new Prime Minister of the UK. I don't know, Dr. Matsanga, if you want me to go through all of them and then you're going to pick one by one, or we just go through all of the newspapers. You're on mute, Dr. Matsanga.
I will do the newspapers from this end.
All right.
Right. So let's go straight to the newspapers headlines in United Kingdom. You have already done the Uganda newspapers. Food prices soar as festive period nears. You have done that. Tanzania, the Citizen, tracing Rishi's Tanzanian roots. The Prime Minister of Britain has roots in Tanzania. At East Africa is producing the Prime Minister and the President. Kenya has produced a president already. Then we leave that and cross over to the British newspapers. This morning, the Sunday Telegraph, 10-point migration plan to end hotel Britain. There is a push and a pull and a push about the immigration status plans on how to welcome as many people as possible in the United Kingdom, to remove some of them who are leaving Africa. As we are going to discuss the topic of Africa, are we enemies of ourselves? Eritrea produces more of these men who die in the Mediterranean Sea, and we don't talk about it. Every newspaper here, every television in Africa, when you watch them, they don't talk about these things. Yet we have a man in Eritrea, in Asmara, killing younger boys, forcing them out to move all the way to Mediterranean Sea and die there. And then we have documents being done for them being discriminated in other parts of Europe. So today we shall look at that, and we know that the 10-point program for migration in Britain, and it has been, some people have been taken to Rwanda, and the human rights groups in Britain are saying, no, you cannot take people to Rwanda. And I don't know, there's also a problem with Rwanda. Rwanda, as much as it is becoming a very good point for Africa, it is also becoming a very dangerous point for Africa. There are some policies in Rwanda that must be criticized. There is no way that anybody in Rwanda, in Africa, should be proud of hosting people that have a plight of people suffering. We should reach a point where we say enough is enough. You see, some of the African countries amuse me. We are we talk of Pan-Africanism, we talk of being anti-colonialists, but at the same time, we become elements of colonialism, which is very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. It is done. These people have enough space. They have enough air to breathe. Nobody has told you that Britain has not enough air. Is there not enough oxygen for people in Britain to live? There is. So there are some of the policies. I think the Conservative government of Britain, time has come for us Labour members, Labour people, party members. I've been a member of the Labour Party from 1987. I've been a member, full-fledged paid member annually. And I'm a full delegate. I disagreed with Tony Blair. I see him greeting so many people, heads of state in Africa now, looking for and I was telling him, I will teach you how to do African politics, because he's now looking for jobs. When he was destroying Africa, he destroyed, Tony Blair's reign destroyed Zimbabwe. It killed Zimbabwe, to finish Zimbabwe, to brought Zimbabwe to the knees. And I stood up in Brighton, and told Tony Blair that don't isolate Mugabe. I see this man walking around Africa that is looking for jobs. What are you going to save us? As a Labour member, I feel ashamed. But because he's my former Labour Party member, Prime Minister, that we campaigned together in World War Fraud in Camberwell, World War Fraud, which was our headquarters. I will leave it there for you. But one of these days, I will bring a topic about him. Because there are so many things that have annoyed us. You go and put sanctions on a country in Africa. And then you come and say, we are looking for contracts in Africa. What a shame. What contracts are you looking for after you have destroyed Africa? So there you are. We Africans ourselves, we are makers of our own problems. And then we go out and we look for these problems. As Wesonga will be guiding us to discuss that topic, which is coming next, very hot. The Sunday Express says Rishi revives Thatcherism to rescue United Kingdom. Yes, austerity measures everywhere. In Britain, they are making a shape. Everybody is pinched. You cannot buy goods, Wesonga and Javan and the panel. You cannot buy goods in Britain of £100. We used to buy a full trolley. Now £100 are just a few items. The gas, the price of gas, the price of fuel. My Range Rover now cannot be filled with £40 or £60. It is £300 to fill my Range Rover. This is something that we must talk about. And it's not affecting only Africa. It's affecting great countries. So we must prepare ourselves as Africans, get organized, that we don't destroy what we had or what we have. Then we come around and get experts coming around, give me a contract, go and meet President so and so, meet this one, meet Mnangagwa. President Mnangagwa, Mugabe will roll in the grave when he hears that some of these things that you're meeting Blair, who put sanctions on this country, killed this country. Some of us who have struggled to remove these sanctions is very painful. You Zimbabweans hear that and watch, because it is very, very bad. It's painful. You struggle for sanctions to be removed. Then you get the same man who put sanctions getting your little currency. Getting your little currency that you are paying him fees. Take charge.
Okay.
Thank you very much. That's the Express and the other paper. At times, some of these things are painful. The Mirror, Hancock hasn't got a prayer yet. This was a former Minister of Labour, of a Conservative, who was a health minister, but he took part in mocking aid patients of COVID. So he lost miserably, and he has become he has joined, I think, one of these melodramatic schools of the people we see here in Britain. And those are some of the newspapers. We have the Independent, that I will call out Russia at G20 summit, vows Sunak. Calling to do what? You are going to call Russia to do what, Mr. Prime Minister? Russia is one country that is determined, it is bent. Either we go with force and rescue Ukrainians. I don't see why we are wasting time to help Ukrainians. If we want to help a country, let's go for you with force. We have the money, we have the power, we have the military will for Ukrainians to be solved. Why are we wasting time with this, going to gag African countries not to get their fertilizer and to get their fuel or anything from Russia? What have we got to do with it in Africa? Let's get the arms and go for Russia. Russia is determined to fight, to annex some parts of Ukraine. They have a long-standing conflict which has been taking place for many years. Sorry, since George Soros took over, took their money and ran away with it and went to build the economy of the United States. They have a problem. I think most Africans don't even know why the war is there. The war is basically the Ukrainian revolution, Orange Revolution. Did you know that? Why Russia is pounding areas? This man took their money and he is hiding. He's busy overthrowing governments in Africa, paying regime changes to overturn governments in Africa. Nobody talks about him. He's protected. So what are we? You come and harass Africans, conduct an election. If it's not free and fair, but you have put George Soros, who has dismembered the country. Why don't we bring it? Bring it on. Time has come for Africa to speak. And thank you very much. The Independent newspaper says Sunak is going to call out Russia at the G20. That's why you call them Russia at G20. Expel Russia from G20. Isn't it? Thank you very much. Those are the newspapers headlines from Britain and this side. You know very well this side we speak frankly. I don't know Wesonga in Kenya, they will come because you have spoken about the British Prime Minister. No, here is frankness. Yes, and Tony Blair has a problem and he should not lie to Africans. He should, first of all, apologize to some of us Africans who struggled for Zimbabwe when he put sanctions on Zimbabwe. I'm a member of the Labour Party. I don't feel all right. And I will not feel whether here in Britain, in South Africa, Harare, whether in Kenya, Nairobi, I will say my mind. Don't come and tell Africans that you are better, you can give consultants. There are better Africans who know. Some of these companies that come to Africa to give consultants don't know where the River Nile source is. They hire we Africans to write papers and they earn the money. Africa, are we a source of our own problems? Mr. Daniel, have you seen the problem? Yes. To hire Africans who know the source of River Nile. If you ask some of people in Britain here, where is the source of River Nile? They will tell you it is in Cairo. I went with them for an interview of Sky News. That's how I got my job in Sky News. I'm proud. Yes, I'm proud, yes. I defeated 30,000 candidates because I passed most of the questions about Africa. All of them, not most, all of them. You ask me who was the ruler before Muhammad Gaddafi came to power? King Idris. Somebody says, even he names the king in London. Yeah, look at that. Take it from there, Wesonga. Introduce the topic.
Thank you so much, Dr. Masanga David, there from London Command Headquarters. And today in the Africa Showdown, the topic is Africa, an enemy of itself on climate change. Is Africa an enemy of itself on climate change? And that is presented by whatever happened in Egypt last week. And on Wednesday, November 9th, was Africa's Day at the COP27 Climate Summit, where the continent was looking at negotiations in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. According to NGOs, they say that 17 to 40 million may be forced to migrate internally just as staple crops and fish harvests are expected to decline up to 40%. Investments are huge for Africa in the coming years, especially in water protection of the coast and cooling, according to a new analysis by the International Finance Corporation, IFC. The organization underlines that only 2% of the private sector invest in adaptation progress. Also, it says that despite contributing least to the climate change, Africa remains the most vulnerable region in the world to climate change. African Climate Foundation believes that the climate change intervention could unlock new opportunities for development in Africa, but this requires dedicated efforts, according to Salim Fakir, an executive director of the Africa Climate Foundation. And in so doing, making this transition into a more sustainable economy, industry and food production will require trust between the North and the South, a trust that has soared in the latest year. Adding on the COP agenda, the issue of loss and damage could give a new momentum, but observers remain careful. And it goes on to say, while the gestures are there, it is ultimately the reality of negotiations that will determine whether Africa's voice has been heard. Dr. Masanga, back to you. That is what it says. And, it takes us back to where you started the conversation from. Is Africa an enemy of itself when it comes to climate change? In as much as we've had a lot of speeches, in as much as leaders have been able to present their agenda in this particular climate summit, has Africa's voice been heard? You're on mute, Dr. Masanga.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Daniel, in the studios in Nairobi. Thank you very much, Javan Karanja and others who are watching and who will join, those who are listening on Twitter Space. First of all, Africa is an enemy of itself. Let's put it very factual. Africa is an enemy of itself. We have serious problems in Africa where we make mistakes. There's no Chinese who comes here in Africa to tell us to cut our trees. Show me one China who has said, cut the trees and bring them to China. But there are presidents on this continent, there are leaders on this continent who advocate for trees to be cut, for the ecosystems to be destroyed, because we want to build apartments. Let's be honest. We want to build apartments. We want to build so many things. But we are killing our own ecosystems that have been there given by God. Now, why I said Africa is an enemy of itself. Look at this drama. One, you cut trees, put them on a lorry, carry them up to the port of Maputo, or carry them to the port of Mombasa, or Dar es Salaam, or Red Sea, Port Sudan, said everywhere. Kinshasa exported them to China. Then you go to a conference and ask China that to pay me money because I cut trees and exported them to you. Are we together? Are you there? So if you look at that, where are we, Africa? What has happened to us? What has happened to our leadership? We are reactive. Why do we cut trees in the first place? As much as we want the money, the polluters, the main polluters of these commodities are from the big superpowers, two of them, United States of America and China. We want them to pay for polluting the world. But polluting the world, for us to get it, why can't we also ask ourselves, why do we destroy our forests? Let's start in Uganda to ask ourselves. I grew up when the entire forest of Mabira was a huge place, a big place where you could stop your car and see, my God, trees. That's what in the 50s, 60s, when we used to go to be taken to trips. We in the 60s, early 60s, 1960, 61. We were on buses, very good organized buses, not the ones that kill people on the roads. Yeah, because the government had just been handed over to us in 62, and the Bazungu were still there. Some of us who got education with the Bazungu have some decorum. That's why you see some of us are still here, Daniel. Have decorum, because some of my classmates were Hussein Patel, who produced Preet Patel, you see, who has become some of our Townsend, who we had Bazungu classmates when we went to school, in primary schools. If your father had money to send you to a boarding school, you would be with Bazungu. So there was discipline, and we could go and see Mavila Forest as a geographical group for geography, to study the trees, to look at the birds. Today, it is a shell. Go to Congo, Kabila and his mercenaries, Mabutu, used to refuse people to cut down trees. Mabutu was very strict. What is happening today? Look at it. The whole tree, all trees. Let me ask people a question. Why do you buy charcoal? Why do you burn charcoal and export charcoal to Saudi Arabia? First of all, you are causing pollution. Two, you are removing the trees, because a bag of charcoal in Saudi Arabia, these are countries that should be penalized more. We should put an embargo on some of these items that kill our climate, and say if you are found with a bag of charcoal, it is like you are found with a tusk of an elephant tusk. If you go to the forest and cut a tree and then burn charcoal to export to Saudi Arabia, you must be penalized. Can Africa and African governments start doing that now, such that we give a chance to humanity? All these speeches that were made at COP27, I was in COP26, I sat and I watched. The same speeches, only that the English and delivery of African leaders, the only thing that have changed are suits, and some have left power, the others. In COP26 in Scotland, Javan Karanja, it was the same. We talked, we came out with nothing. Can Africa become proactive? With Songa, I can see Javan Karanja, you have come back. The topic today, Javan, is, are we enemies of ourselves as far as climate change is concerned? We cut trees, we allow people to do it, we allow people, for example, let me give an example as I yield and I land the mic. In Kenya, I don't know what the weather is there, Mr. Daniel. How is the weather there? Is it raining?
We had some bit of rain yesterday, but today it's quite sunny. But I would say that unlike before, nowadays we have a very unpredictable pattern of weather. That is what I've been able to observe in the recent past.
Okay, can I give you a very good thing that is going to shame you and close your eyes? That as now the weather is hot, the sunshine, nobody in Nairobi City, Javan.
Yes, I'm back, Dr. David Matsanga and Besonga.
Okay, just mute your equipment, then you come in. Yes, as much Japan and Wesonga, it is not raining now. Nobody has opened what are those pipes to take that water. Nobody is preparing to catch the water that is coming. That water is going to end up in Indian Ocean or Lake Victoria or some other place. There is nobody. Honestly speaking, very few efforts. The town, the city itself will be, you will need a boat to reach another office using a boat, not a car. Now, you blame this to China, you are blaming this to America. Should America come and open up your pipes? Should Britain open your pipes? No. My education, the last years on earth that I have now left, I'm going to talk about Africa until you people hate me. Our behavior is very bad. Our behavior is very bad. And that is the type of topics. Those are the type of topics, Japan, we are going to introduce here. We have social topics that we need to talk about to educate our African people. For example, you are driving to Mombasa with your family. You come out of the car and go and urinate on the sides. Your children are watching from the car. What is that a behavior? We have a problem ourselves as Africans. And time has come for us to, first of all, before we point fingers elsewhere, before we ask for this money, we know why do we have a meteorological department, Javan Karant. Let me land the mic here. Why do we have a meteorological department? If you look at most of the places where drought, let's go to Nigeria. Nigeria, for example, is 62 years of independence. It has not even piped the city of Lagos. When rain came recently, guess what, Wesonga? It flooded the whole Lagos. Even people who were in the high-rise buildings are the ones who escaped. The rest of the properties were damaged. Is this the Africa you want to live in? Durban, the port of Durban, where I saw Ramaphosa in Nairobi. I am, congratulations, you Kenyans. You are now free to fly to South Africa. For us Ugandans, we used to fly. We are given visa under 90 days. That's the same thing they did to us. They gave us that. But you are flying to a country which is slaughtering blacks, Somalis. Black people there are slaughtering black people. Besonga, do you see that?
Yep.
Which Kenyan would like to live a place where he's peaceful, to fly to South Africa, even if the visa is there?
Yes.
You are eating your lunch, and a gunman comes and said, I want the phone, the wallet, in a restaurant. I'm not lying, and if I'm lying, here I am. I've raised my hand.
Yes, actually, we have a lot of records in regards to whatever you're talking about on videos, you know. Yeah.
I'm 68 years old. I will not tell a lie here today. That in South Africa, you can go on fast. Go and do what? South Africans themselves are killing blacks. They are slaughtering Nigerians. They are slaughtering Somalis. They are burning Somali shops. They are killing Zimbabweans. They are slaughtering Zimbabwean refugees who left, who are neighbors of North Limpo. You are saying you want to go there. Go. But you will come back and tell Matanga the truth. So the African time has come for us. Kenyans, you are welcome to South Africa. You can go there, but you have to go to places which have no problems. Some people there, the blacks, especially there, are very upset. When they see you, they think you have come to get their jobs. They beat up Somali people. And you know our Somali community, everywhere they go, they are the most organized people. They try to do their businesses. They have put corner shops in Cape Town. How many of them lost their lives? Xenophobia. So is this the Africa? Are we not a problem of ourselves. Javan Karanja. Javan Karanja.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. David Matsanga. And I agree with you that Africans, we are our own problems. We are the tailors of our own problems because we don't care much about how we do our things, how we carry our business. And that's why today we are suffering, starting from the kind of leaders that we have in place. The people we entrust with running our affairs are people who end up turning this African continent to be worse than it was even during the colonialization period. When you look at the issue of climate change, which we are measuring today as a topic of discussion, you'll see that when you come to Africa, the forest cover is not into standards of the United Nations. People have been cutting down trees, burning charcoal. Therefore, at the end of the day, we suffer because of the little mistakes that we create here and there. And that is why when you go to places like Turkana, Garissa, Isiolo, you'll find those places are dry, and the effects of the ravaging drought have caused immense losses of animals, and hundreds and thousands of families are facing starvation. And these are some things that we can prevent. Look at the same areas. When it rains, the areas are flooded, and it causes havoc. Therefore, at the end of the day, we Africans, we need to start realizing that nobody will help us. Wazungu will not help us. It's us to come up with measures that will create the right environment, the right atmosphere for us to flourish. But we cannot grow unless we change how we do our things. Until we have a culture of managing our environment. Look at how people are making losses because they encroach the water bodies, the rivers and the ocean. And when these lakes break, we have seen families suffering. Therefore, at the end of the day, I agree that Africans, we create our own problems, thinking that we are punishing someone, or I don't know what happens with our leadership, because they don't take care to know how we are doing. And effects of climate change, Daniel, when you look at this county of Laikipia, there's a lot of problems all surrounding the issue of climate change. Yesterday, we lost someone through human wildlife conflict because of the prolonged drought. Animals have started encroaching to humans' places. Therefore, it creates a lot of problem. Therefore, at the end of the day, unless Africans, the heads of state, come together to mitigate and come up with solutions, African developed solutions to mitigate and to the issue of climate change, there's nothing much we can expect from the European nations, because at the end of the day, they are the main contributors of the problems that we have in Africa. When you look at a place like Laikipia, we have the British Army Training Unit. These guys, they use explosive materials. They use vehicles that emit a lot of gases. But at the end of the day, it's the county government of Laikipia that compensates for the loss that is caused by this British Army. When they go to our land and dig these explosive units that they use when they are training, when they explode, a lot of people have died and suffered, and a big area of land has been left devastated. And it's the county government of Laikipia and the national government of Kenya that paid for this losses. Therefore, we need to come up with the best solutions that we take this country to the next level. I was just giving an example of how we are suffering because of maybe problem caused by other people, because we don't have leadership in place that protect us Africans. We give priority to others people's interest rather than protecting our own interest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Javan Karanja. That's an example from Kenya, one country. But there are several countries, Daniel, that you have a list of countries let's take a country like, for example, take a country like Uganda. What has happened in Uganda of late on the environment is not very impressive at all. The landslides, landslides, flooding, the whole Lake Victoria area, the temperatures have risen up. The most worrying thing about Lake Victoria is that people are drenching the sand which is natural. I'm telling you. And you say, you are removing the sand, the natural sand of Lake Victoria, and you are exporting it to China. Now, let me ask you people, Africans, where did we go wrong? Where were we born from? God has given you a natural resource. Someone has invented selling sand, the sand drenching of Lake Victoria. And someone is exporting this at a very costly. An individual is gaining. A country is not gaining. You can't blame and now go to America and say, give me 100 billion to pay for the drenching of the sand. Why can't the authorities stop the people who are drenching sand from Lake Victoria, making it rise the temperature? Because sand has something to do with water. You know that very well. It has something to do with water. Now, that's why you see most of the places of Nyando, all areas of the people have lost properties. People encroached on the. Let me ask you one thing. This topic is very interesting. It is a huge topic. Look at the people who have built their properties around Lake Victoria in all countries. Some have lost buildings there. The water started coming back to claim where it was before.
Yeah, and even here in Kenya, places like Lake Baringo, you know, the water levels have risen to a level where schools have been, you know, submerged in water. The other week, I was talking to someone in Mbale in Uganda, and they told me, you know, after a very, very long time, you know, they were able to experience floods, you know, which were quite very, very detrimental and shook up the economy of the town in Uganda. And Dr. Matsanga, quite interesting, at COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, leading global experts actually also came up with the concerns that we are raising on this particular program. And some of the key concerns that they brought on board were key focus was to be made on limits of humankind to adapt to the inevitable impacts of climate change, which include ever more frequent and severe drought, storms, and floods. And also another concern was raised about increasing temperatures and sea levels, changing participation patterns, and more extreme weather are also found to be threatening human health, safety, food and water security, and socio-economic development in Africa, according to a new report devoted exclusively to the continent. And another issue that was raised was that climate change is having a growing impact on African continent, hitting the most vulnerable hardest and contributing to food insecurity, population displacement, and stress on water resources. In recent months, we have seen devastating floods and invasion of desert locusts, and now face the looming spectra of drought because of El Nino event, and the human economic toll was aggravated by the COVID-19 pandemic. So this is like adding the salt to an injury already. But more interesting, Dr. Matsanga, they say that there is a significant regional variability in sea level trends, something that you've been talking about, people dredging sand from Lake Victoria. You know, there is variability in sea level trends around Africa. Sea level increase reached 5 millimeters per year in several oceans surrounding the continent, and exceeded 5 millimeters per year in the southwestern Indian Ocean from Madagascar eastward towards beyond Mauritius. This is more than the average global sea level rise of 3 to 4 millimeter per year. And lastly, the coastal degradation and erosion is also a major challenge, especially in West Africa. About 56% of the coastlines in Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, Togo are eroding, and this is expected to worsen in the future. Sea level rise is currently not the dominant contributor, but expected to combine with other factors in future to exacerbate the negative consequences of environmental challenges. And Dr. Masanga, like you said, when you look at some of these impacts, that are bringing problems to the African environment and the ecosystem, these are actually man-made problems, When we go to the beach, why do we pollute? Why do we throw plastics, in the beach, after, having fun? So these are the factors that are contributing to the problems that are growing by day in the African environment and the ecosystem. And that is a report which was presented by experts in COP27 conference in Egypt. Exactly what you've been talking about.
Thank you very much, Daniel and Javan, and our listeners, and those who will pick up our clips on YouTube and so on and so forth. We have no regrets for stating what we state. I personally, I have no regrets. If you want to come to have an intellectual discussion on this matter, I'm willing. But we Africans ourselves, we are enemies of our own. If you look at the events that lead to flooding, events that lead to drought, most of these people, there is a lot of money in all African economies. Money has been pumped in the same arid areas for improvement of lives of the people. Governments in Africa should stand up, and especially the leaders should stand up and query why 62 years of independence we don't have one solar power system that can irrigate the same arid areas. Yet Israel has no tree, but it has planted trees. It is a desert, but it has planted trees. And they have enough food which they can even give us. Now, are we bewitched? Each year, we talk about drought, but we pump a lot of money. There is no thinking, no capacity to think. Some of these people who are planners, you don't plan to say, this 50 billion, 10 billion, which I'm looking for my area, I can bring solar system, solar panels, a big solar compound that will generate enough energy to go and drill, to pull water from the ground, so that all the animals, the horses, the camels, every sheep, everybody go to a certain center. We don't have it. We are only reactive. Now we see animals falling, not only Kenya, not only Uganda, not only Somalia, every part of Africa. Buhari in Nigeria was panicking, even wanted to collapse. And they called the minister of disaster and water management. Instead of firing the minister, Buhari said, can you give me a plan on how you are going to control these floods? Today, when the floods have killed so many people, when shall we take responsibility in Africa? We have people in this country like Britain. People resign if a train has collided. The Minister of Transport will resign and go home. If the train has killed someone, the minister will take responsibility. Why did the train collide? If a boat has sunk on the ship, on the water, the captain takes responsibility. Why did the ship sink? Africa, we still have a long way to go to achieve those goals where people take responsibility for cutting trees on Mount Elgon, yet they know the rain is going to come, landslides are coming. And you expect President Museveni to help you. Let's go slowly here. You blame President Museveni, yet you are the one cutting the tree. My people of Mount, where I come from, it's the same area you are talking about, Mbale. The water came from nowhere because there's nothing to protect the water. It came and submerged the whole city. It's my town. But when you tell people, let's do drainage, they will say, no, that's the work for the government. President Museveni cannot do a drainage for you. There is money that has been given for drainage. So our television wants to educate people. Those who want to listen, whether we are 2 or 3, they will pick this clip and they listen to our problems, self-made problems. Who tells you to burn charcoal? Is there an Arab from Saudi Arabia who has called you by telephone, satellite, that I want charcoal in Saudi Arabia? No. But forest officers collude with nationals to burn charcoal, lay down the trees, cut down the trees, put this charcoal. Who are the custom officers who allow this charcoal to go? How many roadblocks does charcoal pass through all the way from DRC Congo? Wacha tuambiane ya ukweli. I am in transport business. I understand how many roadblocks you have if you are carrying something which is illegal. But we are enemies of ourselves. You mean there are no policemen who could stop this charcoal? There are no policemen who could stop illegal timber? Of very good timber that is taken to China. Then you ask China, are you mad? Mr. Wesonga, are you mad? Then now you go to a conference and ask China, pay me for the damage for cutting the tree in Magaramba Park. Pay me. Hello? Did the Chinese tell you to cut your tree? Did the America tell you to cut your tree? Refuse. Refuse. If you are cutting a tree, plant another tree. Do what we call terraces. We used to learn about those in our geography, in our agriculture lessons. Nobody is doing that today. We have a problem. We have forest officers, agriculture officers, who don't advise. In fact, ecosystems are destroyed by 2 departments, agriculture and forest. An agriculture officer in any country in Africa, if you go and look at them, those days when we grew up in the 50s, in the late 50s, when I was born, there was an agriculture officer with boots. And that he used to come only on Thursday morning to give a lesson in the village. And I used to go in, younger guy, with my mom. My mom takes us to those under tree. And he's with his, telling us how we can dig terraces so that the soil from up the mountain does not go down. Are we enemies of our own? The Africa from north to south, east, central, we have mining groups. Let's talk about mining. The mining, Congo produces all the minerals that people fight for. They have caused the war. And you are aware that the Kenyan troops have been taken there to see whether they can stabilize that country such that the environment, the degradation of the environment, the exploitation of the country stops. I laud that. I support fully the country, the government of Republic of Kenya for sending troops in the DRC Congo. As we talk about climate change, it links directly with those rebels who have an ambition to destroy territory and the environment in Kenya, in Congo. We know that is true. Look at the fight. You think M23 is fighting for what? It's fighting for timber, cardboard, cotton, for telephone to be sold out. There are people waiting. I don't want to name a country where I went and I found, my Jesus Christ, every type of person in the hotel. You know, have you ever seen money, real dollar money? I went to a certain country when I saw these guys with real money. You know, the dollar green money wait in briefcase, and they are being guarded by our own police, African police. He's waiting to buy someone. Then you wait, you sit in the lobby of the hotel. I sat there in the lobby of this hotel. A man who came with a bag, he was taken in by the security. He went to meet this guy. You look at him, the one carrying the type of mineral they have. I didn't know whether it was gold, diamond, or coltan. Let me tell you, did not even look himself healthy. So now you are taking your thing to a man, but then that money, where do you take it? You can't buy even a shirt to come to such a hotel, a 6-star hotel, where dignitaries are seated, people are there. You are coming as a person who has been mining or diamonds. You want to sell them to someone who has come with huge money. There are problems in Africa that we must solve. And that is one of those problems, Karanja. Before we go to another topic. Javani Karanja.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I agree with entirely with your statements. That is high time Africans started looking at areas where we can develop strategically and make sure that we come up with the solutions to the problems affecting our land. And I think that is the only way we will empower our continent. And Africans need to understand that we have the requisite materials for industrialization. We have the manpower, we have the knowledge, we have the skills to take our continent to the next level. Only that if we come together and unite for a common goal. And I agree that in this issue of climate change, the rising drought, flooding, the oceans changing their levels and so on, is something that we Africans, we can come up with solutions. We don't need to entirely wait to the Europeans and other people to bring the solutions. We have the solution. We need to start with afforestrations. We need to start adapting new sources of energy, the green energy. It's high time we started coming up with friendly measures that will see us develop and take this continent to the next level. We need to plant trees as many as possible. We have areas, we have the public places like schools, fields along the roads. These are areas that we can utilize and plant as many trees as possible for ecosystem and for our own good. Because people are inhaling a lot of intoxicated gases because we don't have the trees that cleans the dangerous gases from the ozone layer. Therefore, it's about time Africans came up with these first and primary solutions before we think of something else. If we can acquire the required 10% forest cover in Kenya or in Africa, that will be the beginning, the stepping stones toward actualizing other mitigations that are there in order to achieve a climate-free, a climate that will favor all of us and that will be there for generations to come. Thank you, Daniel.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Javan Karanja. And as we head towards the tail end of this particular show this afternoon, Dr. Masanga, they are
not the tail end of this topic. Then we go to Ethiopia, the peace process in Ethiopia, and the peace process in Democratic Republic of Congo. And the people would like to hear so far the progress, which I will update.
Yes, so thank you so much for that, Dr. Matsanga David. As we go to the tail end of this particular topic on climate and the initiative, the global initiative to be able to salvage the African climate, we have some of the resolutions that were brought on the table during the COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. And one of them was Africa's Agenda 2063, which was concluded in 2013. And as per the experts, they say that it recognizes... Yes.
My brother Daniel Wesonga, this is a Sunday. We have some of us are Anglican Christians who pray not to praise, not to be seen. We are praying. We pray very silently. You said 2060 what?
Yeah, 2063. And, you know, Dr. Masanga, the most interesting part of it is that, you know, we have been setting these agendas, but at the end of it, once we reach that particular deadline that we gave ourselves, we revise it and set another new agenda. That was the topic I was actually coming to bring on the table. Is it really worth it when we go to such conferences and we bring lofty ideas and agenda, whereas we cannot bring everything into action, you know, just walking the talk of making sure that we conserve our own environment?
Wesonga, 2063, we are told a lie by the African Union that by 2020, all Africans will have a borderless Africa. They told us that the entire Africa will have a passport. Every African can acquire an African passport. The former president of your country, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, paid $1 million. I was there in the conference in Addis Ababa. The purpose of paying for that money was to accelerate the African Court of Justice and the human rights. If you look for that money today, you can't find even $1. The late President Mugabe, for example, paid $1 million, despite his country being a very bad off in terms of economy. He said, African Union, please start doing something about this African Union affairs. That money, nobody has accounted for it. Now, when you tell me about 2063, which is 63, these are just paperwork. This is paperwork. The real thing that I'm telling you should be the one we have just talked about. Let African governments start questioning. You know? Let African governments start questioning who is cutting the trees. I just question that. Let's start educating people that cutting a tree and exporting it to China, then asking China to pay you for having cut your own tree to destroy your own ecosystem cannot help you. Isn't it time for us to ask those questions? African Union is a good institution, but it has got a very bad leader called Dr. Muhammad Faki. No passport yet. All our photographs were taken. Nothing. I don't think we shall ever get that photograph, that passport where you can walk free. I land my mic and we come to Ethiopia.
Thank you so much. And that is, to our viewers, that is the conclusion of the COP27. We are just trying to digest and be able to digress about the issues that were discussed and how best Africa could be able to chart its own future, talking on reality and real action when it comes to the matter of climate change and the environmental conservation. Dr. Matsanga, I'll bring back the metal to you so that you are able to take us on the topics of Ethiopia and the DRC.
Let's first of all, if we have a clip on Ethiopia, yesterday, the commanders of both sides, Tigray TPLF and EDF, Ethiopian Defense Forces, inked an agreement, a permanent ceasefire, to enable goods to flow, humanitarian agencies to go into Tigray and other areas of Ethiopia that have been affected by a 2-year conflict. This conflict of Tigray, Ethiopia, is a sorry state of what Africa is that we have talked about. We are enemies of our own. Ethiopia had a very good GDP. Ethiopia had every institutions in Ethiopia were working. Somewhere something became mad. Someone injected madness. We ended up 4 years down the road. We have killed the whole GDP. We have killed the country. The country is gone. I want to take this opportunity to thank General Obasanjo, President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta of Kenya, former President of the Republic of Kenya, for their tireless efforts to bring about peace in Ethiopia. Thank you very much. Let's now wait and encourage both sides and most of the sides to make sure that the peace holds. No side should take opportunity to take this upper hand and use it to go and attack the other. All of us Africans want to see a better Ethiopia, want to see a united Ethiopia. I'm very pleased that that will happen, and it has started happening. Thank you very much, the two former presidents. Thank you very much for tirelessly working hard. Thank you very much, my friends, the commanders of TPLF and the commanders of EDF. I saw you in Nairobi on the pictures. I took one of your pictures. I sent somebody there to take your picture. I want to thank you so much for having been very responsible, for having agreed to be part and a parcel of this peace process. Thank you very much, commanders. I know you have labored so much. You know me for a long time. I've been your Pan-African, especially my friend from Tigray, who has been welcoming me and buying me a beer in Sheraton. I look forward to having a coffee in Sheraton Hotel in Addis Ababa. Now that the peace, we shouted and it came. We asked, it has arrived. Thank you very much on that one. The peace agreement was signed yesterday, and that one has happened in Ethiopia, is now heading towards normality. Thank you very much. I can see Harare, Zimbabwe has just come in, landed in, but you are not very late. Thank you very much, Saxon Vina, my friend Saxon Zina, a good friend of mine, engineer. Good afternoon in Harare.
Good afternoon, Doctor. How are you? How's
Thank you very much. Earlier on, there is something that has annoyed very many Africans, especially we Africans who have been fighting to remove sanctions on Zimbabwe. We have seen Mr. Tony Blair moving everywhere, including there. We saw your leader happily shaking hands with Tony Blair. Why? Some of us are not very, we are not happy. We are not happy. Tony Blair is the man who put the whole problem of Zimbabwe is Tony Blair. And for me personally, I will take it up. I'm going to write a very long article tonight, and it will circulate everywhere. Even if you don't, your Herald does not print, you will receive it, Mr. Zima. Because why should this man come and ask for contract? You killed a country. You want to ask for a contract from a country you killed. That one has not gone well with some of us. And I don't think we are going to be part and parcel watching some people here take us left, right, and center. Saxon, brief us more about what do you think we have achieved out of the COP27? Did we come back empty-handed?
The issue of climate change, Africa has been blamed unnecessarily. For the problem that was created by the developed world. And I think these guys have to compensate us as we are the victims of climate change, which came as a result of their industrialization. And right now, I think I've noticed after the beginning of the Ukrainian war, they are going back to traditional fuels that they were discouraging us from. I think the COP27 was just a non-event, to be honest. It didn't achieve much as compared to COP26 in terms of the resolutions. As far as I'm concerned, it was just a mere talk show. And I think a wastage of resources. How can they have 400 planes flying into Egypt when they talk about climate change? That's nonsensical. We are talking of a banning of fuels. They should have used other means to show that they're serious about climate change. I thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you have hit exactly, because you have said exactly what we said much earlier. Honestly speaking, where on earth does a Chinese tell you to cut a tree? China has never told you to cut your tree. It is you, the greed, the corruption that is on African continent, embedded in systems of Africa. How do these trees reach the port of Durban? How do these trees reach the port of Dar es Salaam? How do this timber reach the port of Mombasa, Mogadishu, Kismayo, Port Said, Port Sudan, Asmara? How do these trees? I'm told they have cut every tree in South Sudan. There is almost nothing for the purposes of selling to earn a living. Ethiopia, we wish you good luck. Ethiopia, we wish you stability. Let God help you, as you are the only country that in Africa that can grow wheat, that can be accessed to by millions of farmers, millions of citizens of Africa. Next is the Democratic Republic of Congo. Kenyan troops went into Democratic Republic of Congo yesterday as part of the stabilizing force mandated by the East African Community heads of state to wipe, to seek, search, eliminate. Seek, search, eliminate, and protect the civilians in Congo. Because you cannot have rebels mushrooming from the middle of nowhere, and they threaten even national armies. So for me, I leave it to that we wish the Kenyan people, the Kenyan Defense Forces, success. And that success will come. But as we wish them success, we also take a word of advice that be careful. The same people who want to be part of the peace process are the same people who fund, arm, equip the rebels. Am I clear there? So the same people who want to be in the peace process are the same ones who fund, equip, and support the rebels. So can we deal with those? Can we deal with those who supported them first before we call the ones they support? Thank you very much. Analyst Saxon has something to say. I want to hand the mic back to Wesonga and tell him thank you very much. Saxon, do you have anything to say about Congo?
The problem of Congo, it is an ISO in Africa, which I think Africa needs to come together to help the Congolese solve their challenges. Is, like I said in the earlier last programs, it's foreign interference. The resources of Congo are the reasons why Congo is in this crisis. If Congo didn't have these 90 minerals of economic value, it would be enjoying peace. But there are certain people who agreed, and they know the moment they cause chaos and destabilization, they will achieve their objective. Can you ask yourself, during this war, these 123 rebels, aren't the cobalt coming out of Congo? Aren't the diamonds going out of Congo? They are. But who's facilitating? Why aren't the ones mining diamonds not affected by the crisis? You can tell people behind the crisis are the ones who are taking advantage of the plundering of the resources. So it's up to the Kenyans and Africans as a whole, and like maybe the global south, because I think this is a far-fetched problem which involves bigger players. We will simply say maybe the development of the new world order might result in ending of a bring of peace in the Congolese area in DRC. Maybe that might be because at least there will be a shift in the balance of power. Maybe. But I know the Congolese problem has been there since the 1960s. Seems they've stabilized when Mobutu Sese was in power because he was siphoning the resources officially to the nations that are behind stabilization. Once Kabila took over, Congo became it was divided into fiefdoms. That's this crisis. The problem with Congolese people need to come together, find themselves. They were one nation. And that's the only problem. They don't need to be divided by foreigners. They need to put national interests first. I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Back to you in the studios in Nairobi. We've done ourselves a service. We have given what we feel. Why do you cut? My question remains. Why do you cut a tree or trees and a timber, export it to China, then ask China to pay you and compensate for your cutting your own tree, destroying your own climate? Then now you ask China to pay for what you have done. It is absurd. Unless God has an answer. For me, I don't have an answer. Back to you in the studios in Nairobi. Thank you very much for watching Punchline Africa Television. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning, we shall have various Matsanga global trends, where we shall look at global issues that affect the international community, the African continent. I shall look at the war in Libya, how Libya has been dissected, how Libya has been dismembered, how France dismembered Libya. Don't miss it. Very few of you watch us on YouTube, watch us on Instagram, watch us on Facebook, watch us on Twitter Space. We are always there. This is Punchline Africa TV, the television for the people, by the people, with the people. Back to you in the studios.
Thank you so much, Dr. Matsanga David. And of course, enough has been said in regards to our environment and global climatic initiative. We've also discussed about matters, social, political, economic matters here in Africa and the countries of Ethiopia and the DRC Congo. And that marks the end of the African Showdown show, a show that you wouldn't want to miss, always starting from 2 p.m. East African time all the way to 4 p.m. East African time. Until tomorrow for our morning show, God bless. My name is Daniel Wesonga, coming to you live from Nairobi, Kenya.